Hi, it's Sid here from Border Archery. That's Milliston House up there. This is the gardens coming down off the front of the house. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with a stunning view of Milliston Lake, the lake at the big house. Okay, so there it is there. So here at Border Archery, we are on the grounds of Milliston House. Our course is on the grounds, and the Eden water, the Eden River that comes through feeds this lake. Okay. But anyway, what the house, by the way, has got a coffee shop. It's open in the summer. It's open to visitors. We are about 300 metres to the side of the big house, through another entrance. But yeah, right. This video today, I'd like to try and cover bow alignment, right? But not just the whole topic of bow alignment, because you'd be bored and fed up with me at that point. What I was going to cover was a much more advanced topic. I assume you know how to align your bow already. The reason why you're watching my videos is because the basics have already been covered by other bowyers, but you want something a bit more profound. Okay, so what I'd like to try and talk about is on plane. Is your riser on plane, and what does it mean, what is its consequences, and how does it affect your shooting? But first off, alignment comes first, the alignment of the limb. So when you pull the bow back, the string should align up through the middle of the limb, yeah, when you look up it, and the same goes when you're holding the bow upside down. Is the string, does it run through the middle of the limb all the way up and down? And that would have been done, although I don't agree with biter gauges, and many of you already have known that, it's there, right? The alignment's already there. But on plane is a completely different matter, and the concept of on plane is why we make an aluminium riser, not a carbon one. Okay, molded risers, forged risers, etc., they're all a bit of a nightmare to try and get edges from. Looks like the autofocus is playing, but anyway, and what it basically means is, are the pockets at 90 degrees to the riser? Yeah, and it becomes more critical when you start making heavily deflexed risers. Now, what can happen when manufacturers are making risers is you can have a little bit of a burr on the top of the metal, so that when they put the metal on the jigs for cutting the riser, the burr puts the riser slightly out of square to the machine, and then they come in and cut the pockets and it's off, right? It could be the riser's warped. It could be that there was a piece of swarf on the plate when that one riser was done, so it's not a systematic error, it's just a one-off error. It could be that they're tooling too hard, so the tools are flexing, yeah, when they're cutting down a wall, down a face. There could be a whole pile of reasons as to why you're getting warp in the riser or distortion in the riser that means that the pockets are not at a right angle to the riser body, they sit to an angle. Now, the rat in all of this is the bow will look incredibly aligned, it will look lovely, it will draw what looks reasonably straight. The limbs will start to peel off to one side, and that starts to hint that you've got a problem. But the best way of checking it is by using 2 arrows on a machined riser. Okay. Now, what you would do is you would put on the flat surface of the riser, not the window, but the central lower half or some central part to the riser, you put 2 arrows down the side and you check to see that the string, hold on, is in the middle of the 2 arrows. Okay, now that's not always the case, and let me try and symbolize what that means. If I was to put a wedge in between the riser and the limb, right, I could lift the limb up, right, chalk it up, and if I did the same on this one, I could have them both sitting off to the same side, so that the riser is facing you, but the limbs are at an angle, which means the bow is that angle to the riser, which is this angle. Okay. Now, with an inline riser, a riser where the grip is in line with the pockets, this has very little effect, mostly because the grip will be on the axis of the error. Therefore, you'll just have a grip that's rotated but not physically offline. When you've got a riser that's got deflex, then you end up with the grip off center. Now there is a manufacturer that's been making risers off center, and I don't understand why, and I'll explain why I don't get it now. If your grip, because your riser isn't on plane or because the manufacturer's done it this way, if the grip is off to the side, right, so the bow is here and the grip is here, if you start pulling the string will rotate, right, and the bow will rotate. So when you let go, what happens? The bow will torque, okay? So you want your bow in line, you want the string through the center of the throat of the grip, right? And that means when you pull back, the bow doesn't try and torque out of alignment. And the result of that alignment issue will be a spread of arrows on the target, a slightly erratic arrow flight that you can't seem to work out why. Now, riser manufacturers have recognized this in the past, and they've done the ghastly figure of giving you adjustment. Now, I always refer to aeroplane wording. So you've got yaw, pitch, and roll. Okay, yaw is where you use the tail and you twist that way. That would be your lateral alignment on a bow. Pitch is the angle, yeah, that the plane's flying at, to fly down or to fly up, or if it's very heavy or back heavy, it'll fly at an angle. That's pitch. And then you've got roll, which is that way. So with ILF, you've got pitch adjustment with the limb bolt, and you've got yaw adjustment with the LLA system. And then you've got, in some risers, which I think is a preposterous idea, basically it means that you can make any junk and sell it and just tell the customer that it's their problem. It means you can mass produce at speed without any care and consideration, as far as I'm concerned. So if you've got adjustment for roll as well, then you've got an abomination of a bow. There is absolutely no reason why you'd want that, in my view. Just sell a damn straight riser in the first place. If you're charging top money for it, make sure the damn thing's straight, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we make really, really big recurves as well as moderate recurves, but the really big ones, they need a riser to be correct. So if we can do that with wood, why can't you do it on a $300,000 CNC machine? It makes no sense to me as to why you'd have so much adjustment. But the idea is you really don't want to be messing about with roll, because it really starts to mess things up. So let's imagine you've got your recurve sitting up and it's sitting over. That means you'd have a limb twist. So you try and pull it over with LLA, with your lateral limb alignment. So you try and pull it over, but it's still leaning. It's just no longer here, it's over here. It's still wrong. So in theory, what you want to do is you want to move it back and then you want to move it upright. Do you have the qualifications for that? The number of bows I see that are badly set up. And that's only with one form of adjustment. Imagine if I gave you absolutely everything. I can make the pockets like noodles and then leave it to you to solve. No, I disagree with that, totally. Anyway, the idea is you need to check the riser is actually got a central lower leg, or a part of the riser that is central. Some risers, the the stabilizer bushing's off center, but like even in a centered riser, the drilling is off center. It just looks bizarre. Why didn't they just model that off center? There are some risers where the bottom leg is 2 or 3 millimeters off center. What's that? An eighth, 16th, an eighth, and an inch off center. And you'll see it because there won't be a symmetry in the step coming down from the skinnier grip. There's a slight increase in width. Well, there'll be more increase on one side than there would be in the other. That means you can't really use the bottom leg because there's more metal on one side than there is the other, which means it's not on center, so you can't use it as a measurement. With our risers you can, with a Tempest you can, but that's on plane. Okay, so you might want to check that your string is central to the leg of the riser, right? And that's what they call on plane. Yeah, so 2 arrows, try not to squeeze them too much because you can make them bend, which means you're getting a distorted reading. But there you go, 2 chopsticks, 2 straight sticks, and you can see the string is in the middle. All right, so that would be classed as on plane. It can be up to nearly about 1/3 of an inch. What would that be, 4 or 5 millimeters off center. We've seen that before. Now that's still, I talk about having a C-shaped bow, so one limb's in at an angle, riser down and then out the other side. The C could run the other way. I don't really care about that bit, but it just, there's a C. There's an L shape where one leg kicks out, so that's one limb's out of alignment, or you can have Z-shaped bows. They will all affect the string coming through the center line. But one of the subtle ones, although this riser's got quite big hooks etc on it, one of the subtle ones to kind of tell you what you're looking for is just simply to put, let's see, to put the bow down, hold it by the tip, and you'll see which way it leans. Now the button on this is making it lean to one side, but it shouldn't really lean too far, right? The big hooks also make it a bit more leany, whereas it's fairly equal, as you'd expect. It's the mass that's equal. If the limb sits over to one side, it'll swing, and it doesn't happen so much on the other way round. So it's just a little subtle hint as to tell you which limb is the one that's out of alignment. Make sure your bow's aligned first before you check if it's on plane, because if you've got a C shape, L shape, etc., a C shape will put your string off to one side. Yeah, you don't really want to be doing that. You don't want to be trying to jack up the limbs to get them standing upright as opposed to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You don't want that. You want to make sure your bow's straight in the first place. Now, your bow could be straight, or it could be your bow itself looks straight. It's just that the riser's sitting off. If the riser's sitting off and the bow is straight itself, then it's not on plane, and that needs sorted. And then you'll find your grouping will suddenly pull together because you're not torquing. And risers with deflex, that can be the biggest crime to accuracy, because the deflex means that the grip ends up, the further forward the grip is, the more it will move over, meaning you end up with more torque happening. All right, so accuracy in riser construction, it's paramount. Okay, right, any questions? I'll be able to answer them, hopefully. All right, thanks for watching.